We alive?
We're live.
Ready? All right, I'd like to call the Budget Review Committee to order. It's September 17th, 2018 at 7 p.m. and we're in the Aldermanic Chamber. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Alderman at Large Laurie Wilshire.
Here.
Alderman at Large Brian McCarthy. Present. Alderman at Large Michael O'Brien is present. Alderwoman at Large Shoshana Kelly.
Here.
Alderman at Large David Tenza. Absent. And Alderman Jan Schmidt.
Yes, I'm here.
And our Chairman Richard Dowd.
Present. Okay. Also in the present is Mayor Jim Donchis and the City Chief Finance Officer. First order of business is public comment. Up and note that
Duly noted is present.
Alderman Tenza. Sure, go ahead.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here tonight to talk to all of you. I'm Carolyn Choate, 59 Cheyenne Drive, and I'm also the chair of the Nashua Beautification Advisory Committee. I first want to say that I'm so grateful to Mayor Donchis, who blessed my long-held desire to establish a citizen-led beautification committee a little over 2 years ago. And in that effort to improve the aesthetics of our city, both public and private. At the time, the Nashua Telegraph did an article about our budding group, and I'll never forget someone left a comment online that said, and I'm ad-libbing here, but the general gist was it would just be a matter of time before this little group would manage to affect the tax rate or manage to use city funds for its pleasure. And I took exception to that, and I wrote him right away, and I said, not as long as I'm at the helm, that there would be ways that we could work within what was already allocated, to work with city departments, to just work with the tools we had, with the budgets we had, working in cohort with Parks and Recreation. Nick Caggiano, for example, working with code enforcement, who we partner with a lot, Public Works in general, et cetera, and that it was my goal to someday have some mechanism by which our group could do fundraising. And lo and behold, I'm so proud to represent our group here tonight because of Resolution R18075. And thank you so much, Brian, Alderman McCarthy, for helping me get it to this point. And I was elated to see when Sue Lovering gave me the draft. It said so many endorsers and supporters of it. And once again, we plan to use these funds only for specific city projects. I imagine, for example, one of the first things I want to do is buy a cigarette receptacle for the front of City Hall. As some of you may know, I'm working at Public Works now. I look a little bit cleaner and more well-dressed tonight, but many times I'll be working in front of City Hall, and I see people wanting to come into the building and don't have a place to put their cigarettes. So myself and my co-chair, Philip Sconsis, will be putting the first checks in the kitty for some cigarette receptacles in the front. These are the sorts of things, not any grandiose plans, and all things will be obviously put through to Public Works, Nick Caggiano, and the mayor will also see our plans when they put forth. So thank you again for your consideration, and I'm really excited for the future possibilities with this escrow fund. Thanks again. Any questions?
Can you do anything about squirrels on the road?
No roadkill recipes do I have to offer.
Thank you
at this
very
time.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah. I guess that's a state issue.
Yeah, they were out there with a shovel today. Sorry.
We only knew somebody up at the State House. Okay. Communications.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have communications from Mayor Jim Donchis, reason to report on surplus and overlay for 2019. This is referred to the committee on 9/12/18.
If there's being no objection, I will accept the communication and place it on file. Unfinished business?
There is none.
New business?
Before us this evening, Mr. Chair, is R 18075, establishing an expendable trust fund to accept donations for the beautification projects. Mr. Chairman, may I make the motion to recommend final passage?
Okay, the motion on the floor is to recommend final passage. Would the mayor and the chief financial officer like to come up and give us an overlay?
Trust fund legislation. The trust fund legislation, not the tax rate.
That's for the beautification project. Well, they'll be here for the next one. That's Alderman McCarthy.
Yeah, I think Mrs. Choate explained it all. It's just a fund to accept donations so that the beautification committee can purchase things for enhancement of the downtown and other areas of the city.
Sounds good. Any other discussion on it? Yes, Alderman Tenza?
Can I just ask a question? Because I know we approved an expendable trust fund as well for parades and the like. Are we going to have to do this for every project? Is it better to, and maybe Mr. Griffin could talk to that?
If we wish to allocate that money solely to that one project, yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Motion is for recommend final passage to the full board. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. New business?
No, we have another resolution.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, new business resolutions.
Yes. Also before us this evening is R 18076, establishing the use of a fund balance for the tax rate. Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion to recommend final passage.
Motion on the floor is to recommend final passage of R 18076. Now, Mayor Donchis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This resolution proposes that of the $6 million odd that we generated in surplus as a result of revenue, which exceeded budget estimates, that 4.5 million go to as relief against the tax rate, to hold the tax rate down across the board, and that the remainder go into overlay and reserve to offset any cases we have concerning assessments that either are pending now or could be brought in the future. So the bottom line is $4.5 million of our surplus would be returned directly to the taxpayers in the form of tax relief.
Alderman Kelly?
Thank you,
Alderwoman
Mr. Chair.
Kelly.
I was just wondering how you came up with the amount that you came up with.
We looked at what we thought we should have to help the taxpayers, and also what we might need in the reserve, the overlay reserve. Now, what the overlay does is it pays for any successful abatement cases or any cases that are negotiated. Now, we've got some pending now, and we always need to have an overlay balance so that if there's a problem, with any particular case, there's always money to cover it. And there are some cases pending now. We expect that after revaluation, there will inevitably be more. So we want to make sure that we're covered in the event of any contingency with respect to abatements, and that it's better to be conservative. And, if we have money left at the end of the year, that'll always carry forward.
Mayor, if we exceeded the $7,200,000 in abatements, where would that money come from?
Well, we might be able to bond some of it, or we might be, we could use the undesignated fund balance. Now, as proposed here, the amount excuse me, unassigned fund balance. The amount of unassigned fund balance would be $30,338,000, which is 11.5% of the city budget. The DRA recommends 5% be held. We have a city ordinance that requires 10% of the city budget be held in unassigned fund balance. So there would be that gap between 10 and 11.5% that could be used if for any reason the overlay reserve that we have was not sufficient. And the other thing we could explore and you're talking about a very worst case scenario situation, but it's possible that we could bond towards that as well.
Okay, questions?
Is that accurate?
Are you all set with,
Maybe I could,
Mr. Griffin?
based on Alderwoman Kelly's question, the $4.5 million is a comfortable number for us. 4 out of the last 5 years, we used 4.1 million, so it's a comfortable number. As you may know, we budget motor vehicle revenues very conservatively, and we generally generate 3.5 to 4.5 million in surplus just for that item alone. And so if you go the route of increasing that significantly, or even, adding $1 million to it, it's a hurdle we have to get over the following year. So you want to have a number that can be met for the most part every year. So we've been conservative in the application, as well as putting money, as the mayor said, away for things that may happen. So I just wanted to add some more information for you and the team. Thank you.
Mayor, did you have anything else you wanted to add before we?
No.
Okay.
If you have questions, of course, we can
Questions?
answer them.
Just one question. How is the activity moving forward with KRT?
It seems, good. As I've mentioned to you before, I mean, we have a situation where as you know, we have a state-required revaluation, meaning bringing everything to 100%, all property to 100%. And there are 28,000 properties in Nashua. The impact on residential has been significant. The median kind of average increase is around 22, 23, 24%. So that if your assessment went up less than that, you're likely to see a 0% increase or maybe even a reduction. If your assessment went up more than something in the 23 or 24% range, you're going to see a tax increase. And if you're up at 30, 40, 50%, and there are unfortunately, and I mean, I really am concerned about people in that situation, because I know we're going to see that they have significantly higher tax bills, but there's really nothing we can do about it because we are required by law to go to 100%. So at the various wards where KRT has held meetings, you, Mr. Chair, were at Ward 1. Ward 8 is tomorrow? 7 tomorrow. We've gone through 6 wards, and we've had varying numbers of people, ranging from about 50 to about 200 people who've come in and wanted to talk about their assessments. So KRT will meet with anyone at those meetings, and following a discussion, if the taxpayer homeowner wants a follow-up, someone will go out and visit the house and reassess the situation. But this range of results, I mean, it's, I suppose it's, it's fairly, it results in an apportionment of taxes based upon the real value of homes, but it is in a way unfortunate that some people are actually going to have lower taxes while other people will have significantly higher. Because everybody is kind of used to what they pay, pretty much. So you know, it's too bad that I mean, it's great that some people will have lower taxes, but it's not so great that some people are going to have significantly higher.
Have any of the businesses received their letters yet, and how do they go about meeting with KRT?
I could explain that. John Griffin, CFO. Letters will go out first thing in the morning to the businesses. KRT has scheduled a reserved time in the auditorium Friday, 3 days next week, for direct meetings with the commercial and industrial taxpayers. So once the commercial and industrial taxpayer receives their notice of value, they are instructed in that letter to call KRT, and KRT will schedule meetings.
Okay.
The objective is to not only review any residential taxpayers, homeowners that would like a review, but also do the same thing with the commercial and industrial, and end up on October 1st with what's called an MS1, which is the values, stated values, exemptions, and tax credits that go up as the basis for the tax calculation by the state.
So total value of the city, I think we've touched on this before, is currently about 8.3 to 8.4 billion, and that's going to go above 10.5 billion. So there's a huge increase in the value of the property in the city over the past 5 years, over $2 billion. Now, the residential values continue to rise. The values have to be calculated as of April 1, which means April 1 of this year, because that is the way, under state law, the tax year runs from April 1 to April 1. So the values are calculated as of April 1. According to KRT's research and review of the market, residential values have actually risen 6% on average since April 1. And where are we now? Middle of September. So we're talking in a little less than 6 months. Their work shows that residential values are up another 6%. Now that 6% is not in any of the assessments because the relevant date by state law is April 1, 2018.
Any additional questions? Seeing none, the motion on the floor is to recommend final passage of our 18075 to the full board. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee.
New business ordinances,
There are none?
general discussion. Okay, none. Public comment, there's no one here. Remarks by Alderman. Mayor, when are we going to get together on this other thing, the bonding?
Do we have a date set?
No, I tried calling today.
Why don't I wait here?
All right, thanks. Yep. No remarks by Alderman? Oh, Alderman O'Brien.
You did mention squirrels earlier, and I'll tell you, it is a phenomenon, but I did see something close to Hollis. They are wreaking some havoc on the pumpkin crop and the apple and everything, and traveling the highway. I have seen them, but I saw this something for the first time in my life, not once but twice, squirrels swimming in the lake. I have never seen that before. I thought we were something in the Walking Dead episode, but, anyways, they say it is normal, so therefore I lived enough to see it, so I'll leave it at that.
I just wish the state to come clean up their intersections because they're really bad. Motion. Do I have a motion? Alderman Wilshire. Motion is to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned at 7:19.